I'm Claire, and for 12 years, I've lived a life as predictable as the ticking of a clock, trapped in a marriage that feels more like a well-rehearsed script than a love story. But beneath my tightly buttoned suits and the walls I've built around my heart, a restless hunger has been growing, a desperate need for something to shatter the monotony and make me feel alive again. Last night, my husband, Mark, showed up at my office with a cryptic invitation, his eyes burning with a secret I couldn't decipher, pulling me into a mystery that's left my pulse racing and my world teetering on the edge. What did he mean by not entirely proper? And why does it feel like I'm about to step into a darkness I can't escape? There's a certain stillness in the way a clock ticks when you've heard it 1,000 times before. A rhythm so ingrained it becomes the heartbeat of your existence. I'm Claire, 38 years old, and I've spent most of my life wrapped in that kind of quiet predictability, where every second falls exactly where it's supposed to. I live in a modest suburban home just outside the city, a place where the grass is always trimmed to the same length, and the mailbox never holds anything unexpected. My husband, Mark, is 42, a man built like a brick wall, solid and unyielding, with hands that have guarded the gates of Westview Community College for over a decade as a security officer. 12 years of marriage have carved a familiar path between us, one paved with routine and the kind of silence that isn't uncomfortable but isn't exactly warm either. I've always been the kind of woman who keeps her edges tucked in, hidden beneath long-sleeved dresses or sharply tailored suits that button up to the neck. My hair is forever pulled back into a tight bun, not a strand out of place, as if letting it fall would unravel something I've worked hard to keep contained. At the accounting firm where I work as an administrative assistant, I'm known for my polite nods and clipped responses, the kind of person who never lingers at the water cooler or shares too much over coffee. I've built walls out of fabric and formality, and I've lived behind them for so long I sometimes forget what it feels like to let anyone see the real me, if I even know who that is anymore. Mark and we've got a marriage that's safe, like a well-worn pair of shoes. It fits, it functions, but it doesn't thrill. We don't fight, not really. There's no shouting or slamming doors in our house, but there's no burst of laughter either, no sudden moments where we catch each other off guard with a look or a touch that sets the heart racing. We move through our days like actors in a play we've rehearsed too many times, knowing every line, every cue. He comes home, hangs his uniform by the door, and I set the table with the same plates we've used since our wedding. We talk about the weather or the news, but never about anything that cuts too deep. And yet, lately, I've felt this ache, this quiet restlessness I can't put a name to. It's like I'm sleepwalking through my own life, my feet moving forward while my mind drifts somewhere else, searching for a spark, a jolt, something to remind me I'm still here, still alive. I've tried to ignore it, to bury it under spreadsheets and laundry, but it lingers like a shadow I can't shake. I catch myself staring out the window at work, watching the world move past while I'm stuck in place, or lying awake at night next to Mark, wondering if he feels it too. Does he ever feel the same restlessness I do? Look at me and wish for more? Does he ever? It's Friday evening, and I'm still at the office, long after the rest of the staff has trickled out into the weekend. The dim glow of my desk lamp casts a soft pool of light over the scattered files I'm organizing, the only thing keeping me company besides the low hum of the air conditioning. The silence in here is almost tangible, wrapping around me like a heavy blanket, broken only by the occasional rustle of paper as I sort through invoices and receipts. My fingers move mechanically, my mind half elsewhere, still tangled in that restless ache I can't seem to shake. I glance at the clock, 8:47 p.m. I should have been home hours ago, but something keeps me here, tethered to this desk, as if leaving would mean facing the quiet of my house too soon. Suddenly, there's a sound at the door, a faint scuffing against the carpet that snaps me out of my thoughts. My head jerks up, heart giving a little thud of surprise, and there's Mark, standing in the doorway, He's still in his security uniform, the dark fabric stretched across his broad shoulders, his boots leaving faint marks on the floor where he's stepped in. I blink, caught off guard by his presence. He's never shown up at my office like this, not unannounced, not at this hour. A small, uncertain smile tugs at my lips as I set down the file I'm holding. Mark? What are you doing here? My voice comes out softer than I mean it to, tinged with a mix of curiosity and something else, something I can't quite name. He doesn't answer right away, just leans against the doorframe, one hand resting casually on the wood, his face shadowed in the dim light. There's an intensity in his eyes I'm not used to seeing, a look that's both unreadable and unsettling, like he's sizing me up for something I don't yet understand. He steps closer, his boots making a muted thud with each movement. And when he speaks, his voice is low, almost a whisper, like he's afraid someone might overhear even though we're the only ones here. There's a technical break at the college this weekend. The buildings will be empty. I want you to do something. Not entirely proper. The words hang in the air between us, heavy with implication, and I feel a prickle of confusion mixed with a strange, electric curiosity. My brow furrows as I tilt my head, trying to read him, to decipher what he's getting at. Not entirely proper? What could he possibly mean by that? What are you talking about? I ask, leaning back in my chair, my hands folding in my lap as if to steady myself. My pulse is quicker now, a subtle thrum beneath my skin, and I can't tell if it's from unease or intrigue. Mark's lips twitch into a faint smirk, one that doesn't quite reach his eyes, and he shakes his head, refusing to elaborate. You'll see. It's Saturday evening, and my heart is hammering in my chest as I pull into the parking lot of Westview Community College. The engine hums to a stop, and I sit there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, trying to steady my nerves. I'm wearing a knee-length navy dress with short sleeves, a choice that feels daring for me, the fabric brushing against my skin in a way that makes me hyper-aware of every inch it doesn't cover. I've never been one to show much of myself, always hiding behind layers, but tonight, something pushed me to step outside that comfort zone. Maybe it was Mark's cryptic words from last night, that promise of something not entirely proper, lingering in my mind like a riddle I can't solve. I step out of the car, the cool evening air hitting my bare arms as I glance around. The campus is unnervingly quiet, the parking lot empty except for my car, bathed in the eerie orange glow of the streetlights. Shadows stretch long across the asphalt, and the silence feels heavy, almost oppressive, broken only by the faint click of my heels as I make my way toward the main building. My stomach twists with a mix of anticipation and unease. What am I even doing here? Mark's instructions were clear. Meet him at the auditorium, use the side door. But every step feels like I'm walking into something I'm not prepared for. I push open the side door as he directed, the metal creaking slightly under my touch, and step into the dimly lit corridor. The polished floor echoes under my shoes, each sound amplified in the stillness, like the building itself is holding its breath. I move toward the auditorium, my pulse quickening with every step, my mind racing with questions. What did Mark mean by a technical break? Why this secrecy? Why this place, so late on a weekend when no one else would be around? When I finally reach the auditorium, I slip through the entrance, and the vast space opens up before me. Rows of empty seats stretch into the darkness, the only light coming from a faint glow near the stage. My eyes adjust slowly, and I feel a shiver crawl up my spine as I take it all in. The air feels charged, like the quiet before a storm, and I can't shake the sense that I'm being watched. I start walking down the aisle toward the stage, my heels clicking louder now, the sound bouncing off the walls. That's when I see them, 3 men standing near the edge of the stage, all dressed in security uniforms like Mark's. They're older, probably late 40s or early 50s, their faces hardened by years of experience, their postures radiating a quiet confidence that makes me pause mid-step. The first man, who I'll later come to know as Tom, has a salt and pepper beard and eyes so sharp they seem to cut right through me. Beside him stands Greg, broad-shouldered and imposing, his deep voice rumbling even in silence, though he hasn't spoken yet. Then there's Victor, leaner than the others, with a quiet intensity that makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. They're staring at me, their gazes heavy and unreadable, as if they've been expecting me, as if they know something I don't. My breath catches, confusion spiraling into something darker, something closer to fear. Why are they here? Where's Mark? I stop a few feet from the stage, my hands instinctively smoothing down my dress, a nervous habit, as I try to find my voice. But before I can say anything, a crackle cuts through the silence, and Mark's voice echoes through the auditorium speakers, low and deliberate, sending a jolt straight through me. "This is for you, Claire, a gift. If you're ready, let go." My stomach drops like I've just stepped off a cliff. I glance around, my eyes darting to the corners of the room, spotting the small black cameras mounted on the walls. He's not here. He's watching from somewhere else, probably the security room, his eyes on me through those cold, unblinking lenses. The realization hits me like a wave, chilling and electric all at once. The men on the stage don't move at first, their presence looming like shadows cast by a flickering flame. My feet feel rooted to the ground, the polished wood beneath me a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in my mind. I'm caught in a storm of emotions: fear, curiosity, a strange, forbidden thrill that I can't quite name but can't ignore either. My breath comes in shallow bursts, my chest tight as I stand there, the weight of their gazes pressing down on me like a physical force. I've spent so long hiding, wrapping myself in layers of fabric and decorum, that this moment feels like standing bare under a spotlight, every inch of me exposed, vulnerable, seen. Tom steps forward first, his boots making a soft thud against the stage as he closes the distance between us. His hand reaches out, and I flinch instinctively, but his touch on my arm is gentle, almost careful, though his calloused fingers send an unexpected shiver racing through me. It's a small gesture, but it feels like a crack in the dam I've built around myself, a tiny fracture that threatens to let everything spill out. Behind me, I sense Greg moving closer, his presence a solid warmth at my back. His breath brushes against my neck, warm and steady, and I feel the lightest trace of his hands gliding down my spine, over the thin fabric of my dress. It's not forceful, not demanding, but it's enough to make my skin prickle, every nerve suddenly awake, hyper-aware of every sensation. Victor shifts to my side, his lean frame casting a shadow as he leans in close. His voice is a low murmur, intimate in a way that makes my heart pound so loud I can barely make out his words. They're lost in the rush of blood in my ears, but the tone, the closeness, it's enough to send a tremor through me. I'm surrounded, enveloped by their nearness, and it's overwhelming, like standing at the edge of a cliff with the wind pushing at my back. I've never felt anything like this, never allowed myself to. For years, I've kept myself locked away, my long-sleeved dresses a kind of armor, my tight bun a symbol of control, my reserved demeanor a shield against the world. But now, here on this stage, under the dim glow of the auditorium lights, that shell is cracking open, piece by piece, and I'm not sure if I'm terrified or exhilarated by what's underneath. Their touches grow bolder, testing boundaries I've never dared to cross, and I don't pull away. I stand still, frozen by a mix of shock and something deeper, something I've buried for so long I almost forgot it existed. The scent of their cologne, earthy, sharp, a hint of musk, fills the air around me, mingling with the faint rustle of their uniforms as they move. Every sound, every brush of fabric or skin feels amplified, like the world has narrowed to just this moment. Just these sensations. My eyes flicker upward, catching the glint of those cameras in the corners of the room, and I know Mark is watching. Somewhere, behind a screen, his eyes are on me, taking in every second of this strange, surreal scene. A wave of guilt crashes over me, heavy and cold, but it's tangled with a spark of defiance, a quiet rebellion against the life I've lived, the rules I've followed without question. What does he want from this? What does he expect me to do? My mind is a battlefield, torn between right and wrong, between the woman I've always been and the one I might become if I let myself go. This is a betrayal, isn't it? A line I shouldn't cross, a choice that could shatter everything I've built with Mark over these 12 years. But there's another voice, quieter but insistent, whispering that this is also a release, a chance to step out of the cage I've locked myself in. Just for a moment, I could be someone else, someone unafraid, someone alive in a way I haven't felt in years. My hands tremble at my sides, my breath hitching as Greg's fingers linger at the small of my back. As Tom steps closer, I'm standing center stage now, the polished wood beneath my feet feeling like the edge of a precipice, and I'm letting go. Every wall I've built, every layer of restraint I've wrapped myself in for years, it's all crumbling away in this moment. I'm not Claire, the reserved wife who hides behind buttoned-up collars and polite smiles. I'm someone else. Someone raw, uninhibited, driven by a hunger I've suppressed for far too long. My heart is a drumbeat, loud and erratic, echoing in the vast emptiness of the auditorium as I surrender to the intensity surrounding me. Tom is right in front of me, his presence commanding, his eyes locking with mine in a way that strips away any pretense. He lifts my chin with a firm but careful touch, his rough fingertips grazing my skin, sending a jolt of heat through me. He steps closer, the space between us shrinking until I can feel the warmth radiating from him, a stark contrast to the cool air of the empty hall. His gaze holds a question, a challenge, and I don't look away. I can't. I'm caught in it, drawn in like a moth to flame, every nerve alight with the nearness of him. Behind me, Greg's hands find my waist, his grip steady and deliberate, pulling me just slightly toward him. The pressure of his palms through the thin fabric of my navy dress is grounding yet electrifying, like a current running through my core. His breath is warm against the back of my neck, a subtle reminder of how close he is, how every inch of space between us feels charged with unspoken intent. My skin prickles under his touch, the roughness of his hands a tactile contrast to the softness of the moment, and I feel my breath catch, my body responding in ways I've long forgotten it could. Victor is at my side, his lean frame a shadow in my peripheral vision, his voice a soft murmur against my ear. I don't catch the words. My mind is too overwhelmed to process them, but the low, intimate tone vibrates through me, sinking deep into my bones. It's not just sound. It's a feeling, a whisper of something forbidden that stirs a storm inside me. His nearness, the faint brush of his shoulder against mine, adds to the whirlwind of sensations, each one layering over the last until I'm drowning in it. The physicality of it all is overwhelming in its detail. Tom's hand lingers on my jaw, the calluses on his fingers scraping lightly against my skin, a roughness that feels both foreign and intoxicating. Greg's grip on my waist tightens just enough to make me aware of every shift, every breath, the heat of his hands seeping through my dress like a brand. The fabric of my outfit, once a shield, now feels suffocating in the most liberating way, shifting and clinging as their touches guide its movement, exposing more of me than I've ever dared to show. My bare arms, unaccustomed to such vulnerability, tingle with the cool air and the warmth of their proximity, every sensation heightened to an almost unbearable degree. My pulse races under my skin, a frantic rhythm that matches the chaos in my mind, and I can feel the flush spreading across my chest, my body betraying every thought I try to suppress. I'm no longer the woman who keeps her edges tucked in, who hides behind formality and routine. I'm a woman craving something real, emotion, connection, a spark that burns even if it's wrong. And I know it's wrong. This is infidelity, a betrayal of the vows I made to Mark 12 years ago, even if he orchestrated this strange, surreal moment. He's watching through those cold, unblinking cameras mounted in the corners of the auditorium, capturing every second of my unraveling. I can almost feel his gaze through the lenses, heavy and judgmental, yet I don't stop. I can't. Every move I make now is my own choice, a deliberate step across a line I've never dared to approach before. I'm embracing it, letting myself fall into this abyss of desire and defiance, even as guilt claws at the edges of my consciousness. The auditorium itself feels like a world apart, a bubble suspended in time. I'm sitting on the edge of the stage now, my legs dangling over the side, the cool wood beneath me grounding me in a way I desperately need. My navy dress is rumpled, the fabric creased and clinging in ways it wasn't before, a silent testament to the storm I've just weathered. My hair, once tightly bound in its usual bun, has come loose, strands falling around my face, brushing against my flushed cheeks. I can still feel the heat in my skin, the rapid thrum of my pulse slowing bit by bit as I draw in deep, shaky breaths. A strange calm is settling over me, like the quiet after a thunderstorm, even though my mind is anything but still. The auditorium is silent again, an oppressive hush that wraps around me like a heavy cloak. The men, Tom, Greg, Victor, they're gone now, having slipped out through the side door without a word, leaving me alone with the echoes of what just transpired. I stare out into the empty rows of seats, the dim light casting long shadows across the space, and I can't help but replay every moment in my head. Every touch, every whispered word, every boundary I crossed. It all loops through my thoughts like a reel I can't stop. My fingers curl into the edge of the stage, nails pressing into the wood as I grapple with the question that haunts me most. Who have I become? I've spent so long being the woman who keeps everything in check, who hides behind layers of control and decorum, that this unraveling feels like I've stepped into someone else's skin. But was that person always there, buried beneath the surface, waiting for a moment like this to break free? I don't know if I'm horrified or relieved by the thought. Maybe both. The weight of my choices presses down on me, heavy and unyielding. I think about Mark, about the life we've built over 12 years, the quiet routines that defined us. What I allowed to happen here, under his orchestrated gaze, feels like a fracture in the foundation of everything we are. Even if he set this in motion, even if his voice over the speakers gave me permission to let go, I made the choice to step over that line. I can still feel the lingering warmth on my skin, the memory of hands that weren't his, the intensity of moments I can't undo. My chest tightens with a mix of guilt and something else, something wild and untamed that I'm not ready to name. I wonder if he saw everything through those cameras, if he's still watching me now, sitting somewhere in the security room, piecing together what this means for us. The door at the far end of the auditorium creaks open, the sound slicing through the stillness, and my head snaps up, heart lurching. It's Mark. He steps into the faint light, his security uniform still pristine, the dark fabric hugging his broad frame as if nothing has changed. But everything has. His face is a mask of quiet intensity, unreadable in a way that makes my stomach twist. He doesn't rush toward me, doesn't speak at first, just walks down the aisle with a measured pace, his boots echoing softly in the empty space. I watch him, my breath shallow, searching for any sign of anger or betrayal in his expression, but there's nothing I can grasp onto. He stops at the edge of the stage, and without a word, hoists himself up to sit beside me. Not touching, not yet, but close enough that I can feel the warmth of his presence, a stark contrast to the cool air around us. "You were beautiful," he says finally, his voice soft but steady, cutting through the silence like a blade. I always knew there was more behind those eyes. The words hit me like a wave, unexpected and heavy, and I turned to look at him, my eyes wide, searching his face for something, anything, that will tell me what he's truly feeling. I expect to see hurt, maybe resentment for what I've done, even if he set the stage for it. But instead, there's a kind of acceptance in his gaze, maybe even a flicker of pride, as if he's seeing me for the first time. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.